Goofy Sky School is the family coaster at Disney California Adventure. Usually, Wild Mouse coasters are fine additions to amusement parks, but I don't think this ride works at a Disney park. I'll explain why in this review. This ride originally opened with the park back in 2001 as Mulholland Madness. The name was in reference to Mulholland Drive, which is a famous road running from the Hollywood Hills to Santa Monica. As a result, the attraction had a series of billboards and road signs plastered around it. But to put it bluntly, this ride was not up to Disney's usually high standards. The theming looked cheap and tacky. The visuals were on par with Doo-Wopper at Maurice Piers on the Jersey Shore. And the ride itself was inexpensive and easily clonable. Many parks, both big and small, added Wild Mouse coasters in the late 1990s and early 2000s. The specific version Disney received was built by Mack Rides, but technically it was a custom layout, as a few drops were modified from the standard version to be less steep. This made it more accommodating and gentler for kids. Now this ride has undergone a series of changes ever since debuting. When the adjacent Grand Californian Hotel expanded in the mid-2000s, Disney added a series of sound barriers around the coaster. These were curiously painted bright blue with clouds, which contrasted mightily with the ride's red track and current aesthetic. But it may have been a sign of what was to come. In late 2010, Mulholland Madness closed. When it reopened in 2011, it had an all-new name of Goofy Sky School. This was part of the park's initiative to incorporate more Disney characters into the park. The track and supports were painted sky blue, matching the color of the sound barriers that were added during the prior years. The billboards were converted into instructional signs how to fly, with Goofy at least, and clouds you'd pass through. While the theme was better suited for a Disney park, it still looked cheap, and more than a decade after opening, the paint has really started to fade. The cars always have and still look good at least. They look fresh, and the propeller on the front is a nice touch from the standard Wild Mouse trains. The queue line is very dull though. Outside of 2 or 3 signs, there isn't anything to look at, and that's unfortunate because this ride routinely has a decent sized wait. It typically reaches the 30 to 45 minute mark most days. While this does have a higher capacity than most Wild Mouse coasters because of the abundance of vehicles and moving load platform, it still has a low throughput due to the 4-person vehicles, especially for a Disney park. There are a few ways to avoid a lengthy wait at least. 1. Lines are quite minimal at the very start and end of the day. 2. The ride features a single rider line that's usually no more than a 5 to 10 minute wait. This is extremely helpful if you're alone or you don't mind splitting up your party. 3. You can reserve a lightning lane. This is the park's paid skip the line pass. Goofy Sky School is one of the lower priority ones, so return times are typically available all day long. One important note if you're trying to ride this: Goofy Sky School does not operate in rain, so if precipitation is in the forecast, you'll need to hit this ride around the weather. Once you reach the station, seating is on a first-come basis. I don't think it matters if you're in the front or back, unless you want that fully unobstructed view. The forces are the same. Then riders are restrained by individual lap bars. And it is worth noting all bags will need a ride with you, so legroom can become very cramped if you have a big bag with you. Once dispatched, you turn out of the station and ascend the 55-foot or 17-meter tall lift hill. Then you navigate a series of elevated hairpin turns. These all offer nice laterals, as there isn't too much braking during this portion. And you also have some fun visuals. One side brushes against those aforementioned billboards, the other looks over Pixar Pier, which makes the visual of you careening over the edge on the hairpin turns more effective. At the end of this section, you have a nasty trim brake. But it's not just a trim. This thing routinely brings the train to a full stop. It is a jarring stop that'll slam you into the lap bar, so brace yourself. This also kills all the momentum, and the speed loss neuters the rest of the layout. It's almost inevitable a few of the brakes in the ride will bring you to a full stop due to how many vehicles are on the course, but the exact ones that hit depend on the spacing of the vehicles around you. You then round a turn above the station. It has a bit of lateral so the brake didn't hit too hard, but usually you'll take it leisurely. This is followed by a straightaway and a gentle hop upwards into another brake run. This one hits if the prior one didn't already slow you down. This one doesn't usually hit, but that's because you lost so much speed on the prior one. At this point, you're enveloped on all sides by the blue track and blue sound barriers. Then you round 2 more hairpin turns and zip down the ride's tallest drop. This is a 2 to 3 story tall plunge, and it actually gives a small pop of airtime because you've regained enough speed. You then rise upwards and have another brutal trim brake. This delivers another gut check from the sudden stop. You then have another slow turn above the station. Then you have a small and mild dip. A lot of Wild Mouse coasters then squeeze in a bunny hill, but this one instead goes into this extremely shallow climb upwards. Forget about any airtime on this, but you do pass through some cloud billboards at least. Then you have 2 final hairpin turns with a smidge of laterals. There is another brake run here that can bring you to a full stop. Then you have a little dip downwards and jump into the final brake run, and again, you will need to brace yourself because the car slams to a stop. You then return to the station, ending the 1,200 foot or 370 meter long coaster. As you may have surmised, the pacing is hurt mightily by those trim brakes. They also hurt the overall rider comfort. The ride tracks well and is mostly smooth, but those brakes are genuinely uncomfortable with how abrupt they are. So, what would I rate Goofy's Sky School? I would give this coaster a 4 out of 10. This is a below average Wild Mouse. While it does have more to look at than usual with the billboards, the theming isn't revolutionary and simply is not up to Disney's high standards. The initial hairpin turns are good though, and they offer fun laterals. And the largest drop offers some negative Gs. But the rest of the layout is really disappointing. The trim brakes not only hurt, but they also kill the ride's pacing and speed. While I can enjoy a Wild Mouse coaster, this one is not one of the better ones, and it feels sorely out of place at a Disney park. When I go to Disney, I expect highly themed experiences I cannot get elsewhere, not a heavily braked and minimally themed Wild Mouse. Heck, my local Six Flags park is a better Wild Mouse coaster. So needless to say, I don't usually ride this, but I can see it bringing joy to smaller kids because it does have a low height limit. There are far better Wild Mouse coasters out there, but this sadly is the best Wild Mouse coaster in all of Southern California. The Technic coaster at Legoland has a good drop at the start, but has even harsher braking and lesser laterals. Then Coast Rider at Knott's Berry Farm has the same layout as Technic coaster, but it also has extensive braking, and more notably, these awful shin guards that make it one of the worst coaster experiences in the world if you're over 5 feet tall. So those are my thoughts on Goofy's Sky School. What are your thoughts on this coaster? Do you also think it's out of place at a Disney park? Let me know down in the comments. If you enjoyed this review, I would appreciate it if you gave this video a like, and you considered subscribing, because there'll be a lot more roller coaster amusement park videos here at Canopy Coaster. Thanks for watching.